Hello again, Panther fans, and welcome back to another edition of Panther Rewind. Today we're here and pleased to have with us on the set former player, former coach. Many of you know him as Mike, some of you know him as Tony, some of you might know him as Simba. Yeah. And I know him as one of the best defensemen to have ever laced up the green and white, and it's our pleasure to have on the set today Mike Reddy. So Mike, thanks for coming in, spending a bit of time with us.
Thanks, Norm. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Mike, actually, a lot of viewers may not know, but you were not always a Panther. There was a brief time when you were involved with the St. Mary's Huskies program, and maybe sort of talk a little bit about that in terms of how that came about and what your experience was like over there as wearing the red and white or the maroon and white of the maroon and gray, whatever it is, of the St. Mary's Huskies.
Well, I played 2 years at St. Mary's.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, how I got there was away playing hockey in Toronto. Went back to training camp that year. They decided to make some changes, move my rights over to the Quebec League with the French team. I wasn't keen on that, so I decided to make a move. And at the time, St. Mary's was one of the so-called better teams in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't really talked to anybody at UPI, so my dad made a call at the time and ended up at St. Mary's and made it in time to start class.
I think there were some were they national champs around that time?
They were national champs before that, a year before, and 2 years before that, they were in the final. And when I was there, my first year I was there, we went to the national final and lost, and it's a two games, we lost 2 games to Alberta, who eventually won.
Right on.
Actually, Randy Gregg was defenseman with U of A.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
good. So, and that was, of course, coached by Claire Drake. Claire Drake would have been coaching Alberta at that time?
Bob Boucher was coaching.
Bob Boucher was coaching you guys. Went on to coach Flyers.
Yeah, he's a power play coach of Flyers.
Good stuff. So you come back to the green and white, Mike, and you suit up for 3 years as a player, and as I mentioned earlier, you became an assistant coach for a couple of coaches, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But what do you sort of look at, Mike, as kind of some of the highlights of your time spent with the green and white in terms of looking back over your time as a player and as a coach?
Well, as a highlight, I remember, it was a year there. We had a couple of fairly good teams when we were there. I think one of our years, I think it was my last year, you might be able to correct me. Second last year, we got to the final against Moncton. We upset a few teams way through. We had a mouthy coach from a certain team I won't name right now that thought he was going to beat us, and we knocked them off and shut them up pretty quick. So it was good. Actually, I think the team is coming in here this weekend.
I think you're right. You're right. Yeah.
So that was one of my highlights, and I think 1 year there, I think Norman was one of your high scoring years. I also had I had 47 point, 20 goal a year, and
as my right winger.
As right winger, I was up and down. I was defense and back. Me and Terry McKenna, and I think you were the highest scorer, one of the highest scorers in the league that year.
I was.
Not trying to blow
second. Yeah.
So I had 47 points that year, which I thought was pretty good in the AOA for accomplishment.
Yeah. And as a converted forward.
Converted, I was back and forth, so I got lots of ice time that year. We picked up a good goalie over the time, and so it was fun. A lot of good memories. A lot of good guys I met. Some good players there. So good defense. We had a really good defense. I mean, we had yourself, Ostrowski, and Sprague was there. Terry McKenna. I mean, we had really good defense. So
no question.
And that helped.
So Tony, if you think about the Reddy family, is obviously a well-known name in the sporting community. Your father, Spy, was a multi-sport athlete, excelled in a lot of sports. Was probably responsible for Errol Thompson making it to the NHL as a scout back in the day. And
I remember that, Johnny Bauer coming to the house. And coming to scout Errol.
So you look at that, but that sort of extended also into your family members too. Your pretty extensive connection through athletics and sports at UPI. And maybe talk a little bit about that in terms of
Well, Richie Dad started coaching at Prince of Wales College, which eventually became, Prince of Wales and St. Dunstan combined became UPI.
Right.
And so that's part
coaching
of
hockey?
Coaching hockey team there. And he was there for a few years doing that. He had a varied career. But then there's one time my brother was playing with the Panthers, Peter, played a little short stint with them. And there's one game there, and one day where we were playing Dalhousie, My brother was playing for Dow.
That's right.
My next door neighbor, Sean and Dave McDonald were playing, and Peter me. So there was like 5 kids playing
from Nassau Street.
From Nassau Street playing university hockey.
Played shinny out in the backyard, and there you are playing college hockey.
Playing college hockey against each other.
Right.
So Sean's actually moved on to be a doctor in Texas.
Exactly, yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, this was sort of a neat thing about. And my sister Mary Jane played basketball here at UPI.
Right.
So.
Right. And Ann played at Dow, did she not?
Ann was short stint with Dow. Yeah.
Short stint with Dow.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. Good. So lots of connections going on with the Reddy family.
For sports.
For sports, for sure.
Likes her sports. And that's good.
Yeah. So Mike, when you just sort of talking about that coaching part, you had a significant contribution as a player, but you certainly made a significant contribution as a coach over the number of the years, and I know a lot of the players really appreciated having someone like you on the bench, kind of be that buffer between the head coach and kind of the players, sort of assistant coach, and I think you filled that well. And you served under a couple of very influential coaches and very successful coaches, but certainly two very different coaches. And Jack Hines and Vince Mulligan. Yes. Maybe just sort of talk a little bit about comparing and contrasting Jack and Vince over your time as an assistant coach.
Well, I'll start with Jack. I only really actually did 1 year with Jack, but Jack was my coach when I played there, and he actually, when I finished playing there, I thought, well, I'm done. I'll just go do some senior hockey and do whatever. But Jack had asked me, I'd like to be here. You'd have a good rapport with the players. So I said, sure, go ahead, and I did it. And I started off as, you're nervous, the guy's going to respect you and stuff. But really, it was enjoyable. Jack was very driven, one of the best practice coaches I ever seen. Really good, really stuck to basics.
Yeah.
The odd bit of systems, but he was more very basics, which really helped a lot of guys develop. It helped a lot of hockey players.
Question.
And Jack had a great career as a coach in the Junior Islanders. He was
Canada Games too.
Canada Games. Him and I coached Canada Games together.
Yeah.
And so, but Jack's was very intense behind the bench, and he was very intense, and he wasn't scared to use a few expletives at the time, and anybody who sat behind our bench would know that. And he had a few words he used.
His son especially.
And then, Mom, what Dad saying? And no, son, you can't hear.
Yeah.
But I mean, very enjoyable guy to get. The guy was a player's coach too, but when the game was on, Jack was intense to a point where he would almost lose sight of what's going on in the game. Yeah. But he was a great guy to be with. He thought of the players a lot. He was always intense. He was fun. Lots of stories.
Yeah.
Now you come to Vince. Vince was a very different. Vince was practice-wise. Vince would let things flow. We had a lot of talent. I think we had a lot of talent over those years when Vince was there. Loads of talent. And Vince was a good players. Loved Vince. He was a player's guy.
No question.
He did things his way, my way. Vince would lose his temper for some reason. We didn't know why, but he just did. There's something right. Vince was mad that day, and that's it, but he was sort of good behind the bench. He didn't freeze a whole lot. But Vince always asked the questions. He did not want to deal with administration. I did most all the administrative stuff.
Okay.
I dealt with all the.
You're a buffer in more ways than one.
I was a buffer. I did mostly everything to deal with the university back then, like road trips, and we did very successful with 3 championships.
Yep.
With Vince, it was twice at the Nationals. So we had some good teams and good coach.
Yeah.
Both great coaches to deal with. I mean, it's too bad they're not still doing it, but there comes a time when you have to say that's it.
And you sort of you think of the recruiting wave that Vince sort of created back in the mid '80s, where it just it seemed to be a cycle that just sort of fed itself there for a number of years.
Yeah, it just picked up, and then sometimes you bring in certain players, it helps. They recruit for you too, but it did. It picked up, the name got out there, and guys were always happy. I think a guy like I remember Jerry Fleming came. I don't know if you know Jerry. Jerry was a big 6'4" guy. Yeah. Jerry came here. We didn't think Jerry could skate very well. Right. And he wasn't a great skater. And he wasn't a goal scorer.
No.
He was a tough guy.
He was tough.
He was tough, still is tough. But Jerry, on the ice every day, in university hockey on the ice, he developed and he developed and developed. Yeah. Jerry eventually played for the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah. So there is a good success story I can see. Vince was, brought him in, and like we watched him at the start. He this guy can't skate. Yeah. But he developed, he worked hard. So a few guys like that, and they get into the Nationals twice. I think Eastern Canadians once. Once. So very successful. Good. And the recruiting was, Vince did a good job, and guys just liked him.
Yeah.
You know, just his unique way he dealt with you.
Yeah, he was unique.
And,
no
and
question.
Vince was on the campus.
Yeah.
So he was always around the guys from away. They
Yeah.
would see him. So
Yeah.
the local guys wouldn't see him as much, but he was always there, probably down in residence
Yeah.
too much probably, but
Yeah.
he was there for the guys.
Yeah, no
So
question.
It was good. It was a different role.
Yeah. Which did you enjoy, Mike? How did you like? I mean, they always say if you can't play, the next best thing is to coach. Was that sort of what you experienced, or was it different sort of levels of enjoyment?
Different level of enjoyment. You're playing. You're into it. You're
Yeah.
just sort of. It's a different feeling. Coaching, you're sitting back and watching, and you do enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of prep time. People don't understand the prep work.
Yeah,
You get
right,
involved and stuff. It's more work.
Yeah.
I think it's more mental work.
Yeah.
Than there is the hockey work.
Physical
The
stuff.
hockey just came.
Yeah.
You know, and you worked hard, but it's more mental to it. You got to prep more. So it's a different
Good.
thing, and I enjoyed it in the end. But when I was done, I was done. You know.
Right. I think we all go through those phases, don't we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do.
no
Yeah.
question. So you're kind of done. You're speaking of being done, Mike. You sort of moved on. You've done your playing. You've done your coaching. What are you doing in? What's occupying? What's been in the real world experience for
me
Mike?
now? Well, I've been raised two great children. And,
Yeah,
and
that you did.
it's really great. And Chris and Sarah, I've now have a career with provincial government. I've been there 28 years. I'm an
Right.
HR manager with the Public Service Commission. Also, I've been 32 years as a volunteer firefighter with the city of Charlottetown.
32.
32 years.
Wow.
And I'm now the district deputy chief for
Wow.
for Charlottetown Station 1. So I've been busy. Like I don't sit idle usually. And
Yeah.
I love my work, and I love my time off. I love my golf.
You do that.
Oh yeah, I do
Well,
that. I love the golf.
If you want to know where Simba is on a Friday afternoon, you
or
can.
Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
Drive by Belvedere.
Drive by Belvedere, you'll see him on the deck with a Alpine in his hand, maybe.
Maybe something like that. Some sort of beverage.
Anyway, Mike, it's great having you here. You're a great fella. Certainly, I think the viewers would have loved listening to your stories here tonight. Would like to have more time, but thanks for coming out, bud. It was a pleasure having on you.
It's a pleasure.
Panther
Great,
Rewind.
and go Panthers, go.
Go Panthers, go.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.